After putting on a brutal clinic against the Korean Zombie in the UFC 273 main event, Alexander the Great Volkanovski has provided his nickname's hard truth, beating all the top contenders in the featherweight division. He's been on an unbeatable train to Hype Town. It didn't come as a surprise to many when the champ said he might have his eye on another division. Stick around because we've got all the deets on Volkanovski's new potential move, and much more on the latest UFC news around the world. An unforgettable win. It seems like whenever he comes into the octagon, Volkanovski is somehow miles better than before, despite his 2 wins over Max Holloway and 1 over Brian Ortega. The Australian's performance against the Korean Zombie was one of the highlights of his career. Volkanovski, 24-1 MMA, 11-0 UFC, stopped the Korean Zombie Chung Sung-jung, 17-7 MMA, 7-4 UFC, with a 4th-round TKO. This may not surprise fans who knew just how much of a monster Volk is in the octagon, but it did surprise many to see how outmatched Jung really was. Betting favorite. Anyone who saw his performance against Ortega knew to bet on him, so it made sense that Volkanovski was the obvious favorite on the UFC 273 card. While his victory may not have come as a shock to bettors, the champion believes what he did and who he did it with speaks volumes about his dominance in the featherweight division. The champ also spoke about his fight and unmatched performance at the post-fight news conference at Vistar Veterans Memorial Arena in Jacksonville, Florida. He believed he was on another level, and he showed that to haters and fans time and time again. The Volk knew he was raising the bar each time he stepped into the octagon, and none of the fighters in his division even came close. Not everyone can do what he did to Zombie, and he knows it. Canceled fight with Holloway. Zombie wasn't the intended contender for UFC 273, and there was instead the highly anticipated Holloway vs. Volkanovski 3 plan. Volkanovski had dethroned the former champion in a close unanimous decision in December 2019. They fought again at UFC 251 in July 2020, and Volkanovski did manage to win again, but this time it was a split decision. Many fans believed that the trilogy would be completed, with Holloway finally being able to defeat Volkanovski. Jung accepted the bout when Holloway was forced to withdraw from a 3rd scheduled fight with Volkanovski due to an injury. Some harsh remarks. In a turn of events, after Jung was booked to take Holloway's spot in UFC 273, Holloway said that he had been medically cleared to return and offered to be a backup for UFC 273. This clearly frustrated the champ and made Volkanovski question whether Holloway ever was injured at all. These remarks are some which he later said he regretted giving. Opening up his fans, he said he was a people pleaser and let the opinions of his haters get to him. According to all indicators, Holloway is prepared to fight and is likely waiting for a 3rd title bout with Volkanovski to be scheduled. Next step. Volkanovski said he'd still take the 3rd fight with the Hawaiian, and that appears to be what the UFC is setting on booking. He definitely wants the Holloway fight, if only to prove his haters wrong. The Australian native has made it clear that he only wants the big fights, and Holloway promises to be his biggest yet. So if the teams of the 2 fighters agree and UFC wants to do it, the great Volkanovski feels ready to take on the challenge. Lightweight division. There's one thing that Volkanovski made crystal clear though. If there are going to be delays in fighters who aren't willing to face him at featherweight, he'd be just as happy moving up to lightweight to test the waters there. The 145-pound champ did feel like he had a couple of options: fight Holloway in his current division or move up. He believed that anyone who took that #1 contender spot earned a chance to take the belt, and Volk would be happy to oblige. The champ feels like he's on another level in the division, and who can blame him? When you've beaten every current contender in your division, then maybe moving up is the right call. If there's anyone who can be a double champ right now, it's definitely the great Volkanovski. Volkanovski began his professional MMA career at welterweight in his home country of Australia 10 years ago. In 2014, he shifted to lightweight, then featherweight. His debut UFC fight, which took place in front of his home crowd in 2016, was a TKO victory over Yaska Kasia at the lightweight division. However, he dropped to featherweight a half-year later and has been there since. The rest, as they say, is history. Other news. UFC 273 was a fantastic event and gave fans a lot to look forward to in terms of potential matchups. Who will fight the Boars fight next? And what's Conor McGregor up to these days? All these questions and more are still left to be answered, so keep watching. Khamzat Chimaev versus Colby Covington. Before the bout between Burns and Khamzat in UFC 273, UFC President Dana White hinted that Chimaev's next opponent would be Colby Covington if he won. This obviously happened in spectacular fashion, and now the scurry to make this fight happen has started. First and foremost, Gilbert Burns is doing everything that he can to secure an immediate rematch. Dana White was so pleased with Durinho's performance after the fight, he publicly proclaimed that he would give him the winning bonus. Just like he did with Khamzat, days later, both fighters publicly called each other out on Twitter, teasing a possible 5-round fight that fans are absolutely dying for. But Khamzat appears to be ready to take it to the next level. He wants to keep rising the ranks until he gets a shot at the welterweight belt against Kamaru Usman. According to the UFC, Khamzat Chimaev advanced from 11th to 3rd place in the welterweight category. Only Leon Edwards and Colby Covington are ahead of him in the standings before facing Usman for the title. The determination the Chechen fighter showed cannot be doubted when he was back in training just days after his war with Gilbert Burns. Conor McGregor back in action. Love him or hate him, no one can deny that he breathes life into the sport, and Old Notorious may be coming back very soon. Conor McGregor McGregor has resumed sparring in preparation for his long-awaited return to the UFC later this year. Since his Trilogy battle with Dustin Poirier last July, the former champ has been out of action. That fateful night, he lost by a technical knockout in the first round after doctors stopped the fight after he shattered his left leg. The 33-year-old has spent that time rehabilitating and is now back sparring in the ring in the last stages of his recovery. The MMA legend has been hard at work at the Crumlin Boxing Club in Dublin, and he documented his progress with a series of photos on Instagram. From these pictures, McGregor seems to be in great shape, sparring with another boxing club member. The Irish fighter is planning to return to the octagon as soon as this summer, possibly against welterweight champion Kamaru Usman. This would serve to be one of the most hyped fights ever brought to a pay-per-view platform. Dana White, however, recently told The Sun that he believes McGregor won't be returning to the ring anytime soon. He went on to protect that Conor may make his comeback sometime in fall if this recovery keeps going smoothly. Podcast host and commentator Joe Rogan has also cautioned McGregor against returning to the octagon too soon, especially if it means facing current welterweight champion Usman. It goes without saying that you need to bring your A game if you're fighting against the Nigerian Nightmare. An easy fight for Aljamain Sterling. Despite all the hurdles and doubts he faced, Aljamain Sterling did what many thought he couldn't: defeat Petr No Mercy Yan. After the upset, Sterling has recently stated who he wants to face next in the ring. Sterling has 3 choices for the next fight: TJ Dillashaw, Henry Cejudo, and Jose Aldo. The UFC champion has chosen one of the 3 fights as the easiest. The champ called TJ Dillashaw the easiest bet. Considering his fighting style, he believed that he had a much better shot at defeating Dillashaw than the other 2 options. While Dillashaw keeps telling Aljo he's easy money, Aljo just doesn't believe it honestly. It remains to be seen whether the UFC is interested in making the fight after Aljamain Sterling stated that this is who he wants to face next. Jose Aldo appears to have a decent shot at the title, but it will depend on what the company decides to do next. TJ Dillashaw is fresh off a tremendous win over Corey Sandhagen and has made it known that he wants the title shot next. I guess fans have to wait and see what Dana White ends up deciding. That's a wrap for this video. Which matchup are you most excited to see next time in the octagon? Do you think Volkanovski will move to the lightweight division? And if so, how will he perform? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one. Thank you for watching.